Now, as Theresa May meets her EU counterparts today, one of the central outstanding Brexit issues that will come up is the status of Northern Ireland and the threat of a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic and the South. In the latest of our Brexit Forensics special reports, our political correspondent Lewis Goodall looks at the Scandinavian experience and why it might not be a positive example.
Money was supposed to be the issue which imperiled Brexit talks, but that's wrong. Britain's biggest problem could yet be this. Or rather, the spectre of this, a hard border between Northern Ireland and the Republic. It's a theme the Irish Prime Minister Leo Varadkar developed speaking to Sky News after a meeting with Theresa May at an EU summit in Gothenburg last week.
No hard border, no physical infrastructure on the border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. We need a clear legal understanding as to how that can be achieved.
But maybe the answer is actually just a few hours down the road from Gothenburg. There lies the Norwegian-Swedish border, at over 1,000 miles, the longest land frontier in Europe. And for senior figures in the British government, an answer to the Irish border riddle.
We are determined to maintain that as an open border, but as an example of how that might be done, the committee might look at the Norway-Sweden border, where they're both the single market, but they straddle the customs union, and it's a very open border.
But is it open enough for the Irish government? In a leaked Brexit paper released, they say they won't tolerate anything less than a totally frictionless border. So would the Norway-Sweden option cut it? Because Norway isn't in the customs union, haulage vehicles have to be stopped and their papers checked.
My officers here, they do 50% Swedish EU work and 50% Norwegian work. A normal transaction here takes about 4 minutes, 3.5–4 minutes.
Norway does remain the biggest destination for Swedish exports, and most checks are quick-ish. But friction there most certainly is.
It's not possible to have frictionless trade if you're not a member of the single market and the custom unions. And for example, we did a research for 2,000 Swedish companies to say which country is the most difficult to have export relations to, and number one was Norway. If you have the best possible solution, what does it look like? It looked like Sweden-Norway.
And what do you think the British government think of that? Presumably you've had interaction with them. What do they think of Sweden?
Well,
do you think that they want to emulate Norway-Sweden?
No, I think they want something better, but I just can't understand what that is.
But even if we wanted Sweden-Norway, could we set it up in the time we have left before Brexit Day?
Well, I can't really say that.
And there's another problem too, which would make the system here hard to replicate.
Norway is a member of the single market and of Schengen. We wouldn't be, so that would make things more complicated for Britain as well. And crucially, it's taken a lot of political goodwill to get this system up and running, a precious commodity that probably wouldn't be in great abundance when we leave the European Union.
With all this in mind, the British government has suggested using technology to make the border, if not frictionless, then at least invisible. The Irish Europe Minister has told Sky News that that isn't an option either.
We have been very, very clear from day one, there cannot be a physical border, and that means ruling out cameras, that means ruling out technology, that means ruling out anything that would imply a border on the island of Ireland. It is not an option for us.
Ireland was the thorn in the side of British Prime Ministers for a century. Gladstone once called the country that cloud west, that coming storm. But for his successor, there are few answers to the north either. As far as Ireland is concerned, the Norway-Sweden solution is likely to come up short. The British government will need to look elsewhere. Lewis Goodall, Sky News.